Jai Radha Madhava. Then we'll read the Srila Prabhupada Lila Mitra. Then we'll go to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today's Bhagavatam verse is Canto 4, Chapter 27, verse 27. So thank you for being on this platform. And before I start, I'd like to take your blessings and also blessing of the Acharyas. And I'm just doing this as a service. So please kindly bless me that I can speak what the Srila Prabhupada and Gurujan and Acharyas would like to speak on this verse. Thank you for your kind association. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Janavallabha Janavallabha Yodanandana Yodanandana Jaya Radha Krishna Hari Rama Rama Krishna Hari Rama Rama Jaya Kunja Bihari Ramadava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Gidari Radha Gidari Radha Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Bala Jaya Jaya Subhadra Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Hari Bol Hari Bol Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Jaya Vishwapada Paramahansa Padivakacharya Saraswati Srimad Sriladhikarias Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Baby Deformed Srila Prabhupada ki ISKCON Guru Vanchi Paramparagya Sri Goswami Ji Nam Char Sardas Thakurya Prem Se Kaho Sakasta Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivati Gaur Bhakti Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopavita Shyamakunda Rakun Giri Govardhan ki jai. Tulsi Mari Vindadi Gangama Jamnama Ji Bhakti Deya Samita Bhakti Ji Shri Shri Radha Gidari Bhavan ki Shri Gota Ji Jagannath Bala Subramanya ki Giraj Maharishya Prabhupada ki Srimad Bhagavatam ki Gaur Bhaktan Gopam Hari Bo. All glory to Samadhi devotees, all glory to Samadhi devotees, all glory to Samadhi devotees, all glory to Shri Guru and Guru and So, welcome again, all the devotees on this platform. We'll start with reading the Srila Prabhupada Lila Mitra, Srila Prabhupada Lila Mitra ki jai. Avaicharan Prabhu, please share the screen. Okay, today we are reading from Stay High Forever. The chapter is entitled Stay High Forever. Walking back home in the early evening, past the shop and crowded cantonments, followed by more than a dozen interested new people from the park, the Swami again sustained occasional shouts and taunts. But those who followed him from the park were still feeling the aura of an ecstasy that easily tolerated a few taunts from the street. Prabhupada especially was undisturbed. As he walked with his head high, not speaking, he was gravely absorbed in his thoughts. And yet his eyes actively noticed people and places and exchanged glances with those whom he passed on his way along the 7th Street, past the churches and funeral homes across First Avenue to the noisy, heavily trafficked Second Avenue, and then down Second past the liquor stores, coin laundries, delicacies, past the Ecclesia Elicenza Christian Missionaria, the Kohinoor International Restaurant place, and then past the Church of the Nativity, and finally back home to number 26. There was a crowd of people from the park standing on the sidewalk outside the storefront, young people waiting for him to arrive and unlock the door of the matchless gifts. They wanted to know more about the dance and the chant and the elder Swami and his disciple who had created such a beautiful scene in the park. They filled the storefront. Outside on the sidewalk, the timid or uncommitted loitered near the door or window, smoking and waiting or peering in and trying to see the painting on the wall. Swamiji entered and walked directly to his dais and sat down before the largest gathering that has ever graced his temple. He spoke further of Krishna consciousness, the words coming as naturally as breathing, as he quoted the Sanskrit authority behind what they had all been experiencing in the park. Just as they had all chanted today, he said to everyone, he said, so everyone should chant always. I'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada Leela Mitra ki jai. Such a nice description of where Prabhupada was staying and the surrounding areas, so many churches, restaurants, and the description is so vivid. I mean, Sasrup Maharaj ki jai is such a good writer. And I was thinking, in spite of so much difficulty, Srila Prabhupada was preaching in this hellish condition, in spite of so many obstacles. And I was thinking, I think one place I read that Srila Prabhupada represented all the four Sampradayas, and he was speaking on their behalf in this very unholy, sinful place. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we'll start reading the today's verse. Welcome again. We'll start with the verse recitation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Abhichan, please share the verse, please. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tata Jayadaryat Nastaprayesu Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Sloke Bhakti Bhakti Hitaki. So today's verse, as I mentioned, is Canto 4, chapter 27 and verse 27. The chapter is entitled Attack by Chandravega on the city of King Puranjan, the characteristics of Kalakanya. So now I recite the verse, and then after this, some else can recite. Kalakanya dita vacho nismai yavana isvara chikistur deva guyam sa asmitam tam abhasata. Kalakanya dita vacho nisamaya yavana isvara chikistur deva guyam sa Sasmitam tam abhasata. Anybody would like to recite, please?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhu, go ahead, thank you.
Kalo kannaudita vacho nishamya yavaneshara chikirshur deva guyam sha shashmitam tam avashata. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, I am also trying.
Thank you, Prabhu. Go ahead.
Kalo kannadito vacho nishambha yavanesharaha chikirshur deva guhyamsha shashmitam tam abhashata.
Anybody else would like to try?
Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Mataji. Go ahead.
Kalo kannadito vacho nishamya yavanesharaha चिकीर्षुर्देव गुह्यंसा सस्मितं तम् अभाषत. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
So
Krishna.
nice. Mamata,
Hare
go ahead.
Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. I must try.
Thank you, Mother.
कालकन्नादितो वाचो निशम्य यवनेश्वरः चिकीर्षुर्देव गुह्यंसा सस्मितं तम् अभाषत. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody
Hare
else?
Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mother. Go ahead.
Yeah, Dandavat Pranams, Prabhuji.
Tell Pranam.
कालकन्योदितवाचो निसम्याय वनेश्वरः चिक्रीच देवगुह्यां च सस्मितं तम् अभासत. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Okay, anybody like to
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
tell Pranam, Mataji?
Krishna. कालकन्योदिते वाचो निशम्यायेव नेश्वरः चिकीर्षुर्देवगुह्यंसा शश्मितं ताम अभासत. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. If no one, then we can go to the synonyms. Anybody who would like to read the synonyms, please?
I'll try, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Synonyms by Srila Prabhupada. Kalakanya, by the daughter of time. Udita, expressed. Vacha, words. Nishamya, hearing. Yavana, Ishvara, the king of Yavanas. Chikirshu, desiring to execute. Deva, of providence. Guhyam, of confidential duty. Saha, he. Sa, Smitham, smilingly. Tam, her. Abhashata, address. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody would like to try the translation?
Yes, Prabhu, I can try.
Okay, thank you.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
After hearing the statement of Kalkunya, daughter of time, the king of the Yavanas began to smile and devise a means for executing his confidential duty on behalf of Providence. He then addressed Kalkunya as follows. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to the purport. Anybody would like to read the purport?
May I, Prabhuji? Hare Krishna.
Okay, one of you go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Purport by
Okay.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 5.142 it is said, Ekale Ishvara Krishna Are Sabhavritya Yare Chena Chaya Sete Che Kare Nitya. Actually, the Supreme Controller is the positive Godhead, Krishna, and everyone is his servant. Yavan Raj, the king of the Yavanas, was also a servant of Krishna. Consequently, he wanted to execute the purpose of Krishna through the agency of Kalikanya. Although Kalikanya means invalidity or old age, Yavan Raj wanted to save Krishna by introducing Kalikanya everywhere. Thus, a sane person, by attaining old age, will become fearful of death. Foolish people engage in material activities as if they will live forever and enjoy material advancement. But actually, there is no material advancement. Under illusion, people think that material appearance will save them. But although there has been much advancement in material science, the problem of human society, birth, death, old age, and disease are still unsolved. Nonetheless, foolish scientists are thinking that they have advanced materially. When Kalakanya, the invalidity of old age, attacks them, they become fearful of death. If they are sane, those who are insane simply do not care for death, nor do they know what is going to happen after death. They are under the wrong impression that after death there is no life, and consequently they act very irresponsibly in this life and enjoy unrestricted sense gratification. For an intelligent person, the appearance of old age is an impetus to spiritual life. People naturally fear impending death. The king of the Yavanas tried to utilize Kalakanya for this purpose. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for their purport. Thank you, everyone, for their input in this reading the slokas and also the translation in the purport. Thank you, Hare Krishna. We'll start today. So just a bit of a recap or give a bit of background so we can have a right context. In this chapter, we see Rajarshi Naraji's magnanimity. He encountered the king, Pratinja Bahishat, doing big sacrifice of animals. And because of great compassion, he approached him and was very nice of the king to listen to him. So rather than preaching directly, giving all the different philosophy, Naraji gave a different strategy. He was giving an anecdotal incidents of the king of Puranjana and the city of 9 gates. This city is, we also in the same situation, but Naraji was very cleverly indicating this is the situation with the king, Prachina Vijayasat. And he wanted to take him out of the this unholy and very sinful activity of doing sacrifices, so he can go back to the heavenly planets. And just his compassion. We've seen so many different instances where Naraji preaches differently according to time, places, circumstances. So this is one of his strategies, not to go directly into the philosophical side, but to go through an indirect method of telling an anecdotal story. So here we are in this chapter. Chapter is entitled "The Attack by Chandravega on the city of King Puranjan and the characteristics of Kalakanya." So Chandravega is the king of the different living entity, and he's in this verse. Naraji is explaining that the Chandravega and his soldiers are attacking the city of Puranjana and trying to destroy it. And in that situation, he's describing the invalidity or Kalkanya, how she's doing service to the Lord. We can see Kalkanya has been also described as a daughter of time, or Jara, or Durbhagini, or ill-fated, because she was looking for a husband and she couldn't find one, and then she approached Narad Muni because he was a brahmachari. But Naraji refused her approach, and then she got angry and she cursed him, and you will not be able to stay at any one place for a very long time, which is like a welcome curse, because Naraji is in the mood of preaching all over the world. But Naraji became angry or dissatisfied or disturbed. He could see that Kalkanya was really looking for a husband to go into Grasa life. And so he instructed her to go and see Yamanra, the king of the Yavana. And the king of the Yavana also was requested by Narad Muni to accept Kalkanya as his wife. So although Yavanraj comes from a Malicha background, Malishas are those who do not follow the Vedic systems of philosophy and rituals, but he had quite a good understanding of the Vedic philosophy. So we can see from this purport by Srila Prabhupada straightway goes into the very philosophical approach that is saying that we are all servants, and he just quote this verse directly to consolidate this argument. And here, the Yavana king is also becoming. He could understand this confidential pastime. Why Narashi wanted him to become a servant, an instrument of Lord Krishna, to prevent people from going too much into sensual activity. So he became an instrument. He was quite happy with that. Because he says Guhyam, the word Guhyam means confidential. And he could answer the confidential reason why why Naraji wanted him to become the instrument and accept Kalkanya. So here we see Prabhupada gives evidence that everyone is Bhritya. Bhritya means the servant. Krishna is the supreme controller, supreme Lord, and everyone are his servant. So we know, and I think all the devotees are very well versed how is that Krishna is supreme, and we are all seven. Starting from this verse of starting with this verse to Srila Rupa Goswami by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Jivare Jive Hoye Krishna Nityadas. We are all eternal servants of the Lord. This is the eternal or the intrinsic property of the soul. The property of the soul is to serve the Lord. We are all servants. Just as the property of sugar, intrinsic property of sugar is to give sweetness, and the intrinsic property of salt is to give saltiness to any prep is added to. So the intrinsic property of the soul is to serve the Lord. We are all eternal Nityadas. We are eternal servants. So this is the first Srila Prabhupada he is alluding. Even Yavana Raj, although he is a Malicha, and he comes from a very non-Vedic background, he is also a son of the Lord. So is everyone. And we can hear from Srimad Bhagavatam and also from the from the Brahma Samhita, where these verses are some of the very important verses which consolidate this argument. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, into 1 chapter 3, verse 28, it says, Ete chamsa kala apumsa Vishnatu Bhagavan Sayam. Lord Krishna is the original person of Godhead. Everyone is seven. All the plenary portion and portions of the portion, all are seven of the Lord. Krishna is supreme, and everyone is Bhatya, or servant. And this is also confirmed by other great personalities, the Mahajanas, especially Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. In the beginning of the Brahma Samhita, the first verse is that Isvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadilari Govinda Sarakaranakaranam. Lord Krishna is the Param Isvara, Supreme Lord, and his body is made of Sachidananda Vigraha, and he is the cause of all causes. So here he says that there's no other supreme being higher than Krishna, which this is coming directly from Brahmaji. Brahma is the creator, and there are so many sub-creators, but Lord Brahma is affirming that Krishna is the supreme. And also we see from other verses, and that Lord Shiva is also saying, when Mother Parvati asked Lord Mahadev, what is the best method of worshipping upasana or worship? The Lord says, Aradhanam sarvesam Vishnu aradhana param. He said the supreme worship is to worship Lord Vishnu. Of course, that's Krishna. And then later on, Lord Shiva says, even higher than the worship of Lord Vishnu is to worship his devotees. So these are some confirmation that what Yavana, the king of the Yavanas wanted to perform for the Lord, because he is a servant. And then, of course, there's many verses in the Padma Puran and also in Brahma Samhita, where Goddess Lakshmi is also given as a servant. So is Ganeshji, and so also Mother Kali. So there's no dearth of evidence to support that Krishna is supreme in all our service. So in this Prabhupada sets up the first premises that Yavana Raj is acting as a servant of the Lord. Why he's acting in this way? The Kalakanya no one will accept. And because the Lord wanted to give evidence to the living entity, there's much higher purpose than just sensual enjoyment. And if you do good, if you get too much entangled in sensual enjoyment, then Kalakanya will attack you, and then you will be in a very, very precarious position. So, Prabhupada giving some purpose here that foolish people, they don't accept this. They don't accept the evidence of the Shastra. They want to follow the Vedic rules and regulation, and at their risk, and they just want to enjoy themselves. And Prabhupada saying, no sane man will do that, but people who are insane will go away from the Vedic system. So Prabhupada is saying we cannot do much about that. It's just like ostrich. This in Australia they have these big birds, ostrich. They have a very light neck, and then when they are attacked by kangaroos and other animals, they just run and run. And when they get very tired, they want to see there's no danger. They'll put their head in neck in the sand, thinking that there's no danger because they don't want to see there's a danger approaching, but just want to, there's an illusion. They just bury their head in the sand, thinking they are safe, but they're not safe. Similarly, the man, Prabhupada is very emphasizing this very important point, the man of insane man, Prabhupada called them who do not follow Vedic injunction, they are just like ostrich. They know the danger is coming, the Oli is coming, Kalakanya is going to approach them. But because they're too much immersed in sense gratification and sensual enjoyment, they completely neglect that. They just see ahead of what's going to happen to them. And just like the ostrich burying his head in the sand, they're under illusion, they just neglect this very important part of life. So Prabhupada also is getting in the case of the scientists. He says scientists are trying to improve advancement, but they are not successful. He says that scientists are creating big projects, highways, buildings, cinemas, and so many different types of enjoyment. And they have said they want to solve the problem of life. The main problem of life, of course, are the birth, old age, death, and disease. And these four things still remain unsolved. So the ways of science is heading in a different direction. They just want to promote sense gratification and not tackle the main problem. Just like sometime, Prabhupada gave me an example, if somebody has a boil, and the boil is quite painful because it's infected, and somebody just blow some air on it or fan it to cool it down, and the person might feel a bit of happiness because it relieves a bit of pain. But the main cause is infestation within the boil. And if you had to cut it out and take the pus out and then give some antibiotic, then the person will be healed. Because there's just doing a fanning of the boil is not going to solve the problem. So scientists are like this. They are not looking at the root cause of the problem. They're thinking just by building big hospitals, big highways, big restaurants, infrastructure, material advancement, people become happy. No, it's not like this. So this is the Prabhupada saying, this is the craziness of the scientists. They are not able to solve the main problem of life. We see this in material life. So many cost of living is going up. They're trying to do this debottlenecking of the traffic by putting different motorways, rail links, but this problem still remains. It's not able to try to solve the main problem. So unless we go to the root cause, which are ignorance and we are forgetful of the Lord, all this material problem remain. Scientists will never be able to solve this. The main problem of material life is birth, old age, and disease. So in this verse, we see the Kalakanya is being used to inform the living entities this is not a good situation. Here, King Purinjan, he was so much affectionate to his wife, and in this katha, Narad Muni is instructing King Purinjan that he's in the same situation, the king is also in the same situation, to get out of the situation. If you rely too much in this in sensual enjoyment, eventually Kalkanya will approach you and there will be invalidity and a lot of issues. So making very, very clear that future is not good if you do not follow my advice. So what is Kalkanya? What is, we can even these days we can see old age is when a person approaches old age, there's so many issues. So let's see what are some of the signs of old age or invalidity. One of the first signs of invalidity or kalkanya is graying of the hair or graying or whiting of the hair. We see from Ramayana when the King Dasharatha saw in the mirror that his hair was graying. He immediately knew the old age is coming and he has time for retirement. He immediately took the action. He wanted to announce Lord Ramachandra as a regal king, as a regal prince. So he was very intelligent. He was following the wedding instruction. As soon as the hair started graying or becoming white, one should divorce oneself from material activity and go more towards spiritual activity. Some of the other signs are of kalakanya or invalidity is that the senses become more and more less and less sensitive, become weak and weaker. The hearing start going off. Person need hearing aid, or the eyes, the sight start dwindling. They're not able to see nicely. The taste, sound, everything start decrease. The senses become very, very weak, and because there's attack by this Chandravega from different angles, is attacking the body from the material point of view, physical point of view, from mental point of view. When people are getting old, mentally become deranged. What happens is this: they have become delusion. They have a lot of anxiety and depression. This is on the mental level, because once this person become old, the kalakanya start attacking them. The people become very anxious of their future, what's going to happen, become depressed, and then the physical changes start happening. They start losing appetite. The digestive system doesn't start to deteriorate. They have swelling problem, constipation. The metabolism slows down, and because fewer calories are being consumed, they're feeling sleepy all the time. Fatigue sets in, weakness sets in. I mean, these are some of the common things which the current government try to override or try to take care by creating rest homes to make the better facility for people towards old age to have a better life. But it's not going to work. The other things that happens in the old age, some of the signs of old age, is that there's a lot of confusion. People lose sense of time, place, events. Can see people going, when we go to the old people home, they are not able to identify people, they're not able to speak. So many difficulties are coming up. Because we have, previously we used to visit this couple of rest homes here in South Auckland, and we go and just do some kirtan, give them prasadam, tell some very brief katha, and we can just seeing them, you can feel that one day we will be also on the same stage. Actually, I am also experiencing some of this myself, and now it's like realized knowledge. Before it was very easy to preach, oh, old age, death and disease, birth these are main problems, but we are not so able to enter into the difficulties. But now I'm able to at least enter and realize what the difficulties are like this. So when you go to an old people's home and see some of the residents there, they are sometimes very deranged. Some people just sit in one place, stay in the distance. Some people have difficulty sitting down. Some people have a lot of pain. They keep shifting. They call the nurse. Their attention span is very, very short. We can see there are a lot of pain, a lot of difficulties. This is Kalya Kanya attacking through the agents of the Chandravega. Chandravega is bringing his soldiers. In the previous verse, we saw that Chandravega has this 360 days and 360 nights, 740 soldiers to attack day and night, 24 hours a day, and make the person realize that this invalidity or old age is a very, very serious matter, and we should try and get out of it, not to have again go through the same experience. So in this verse, Narad Muni is elaborating this. He's telling Varanjana, this is difficult, you should try and get out of it, otherwise you're not going to make it, you're not going to advance in spiritual life. The other issue with invalidity is that people mental state become very deteriorated. They're not able to think properly. There's a lot of confusion, and because of confusion, they become depressed and not able to think properly. So before we can go into this situation, Naraji is telling us through this episode that we should take care how not to come to this stage. In the previous verses, we learned that Naraji is completely spiritual. All these 4 problems of life, birth, old age, death, and disease, doesn't affect him. He may, because the body is quite spiritual. And same thing with the great acharyas, and also they are on a different platform. This Kalkanya cannot attack them because they are on a completely spiritual platform. Like we see in case of Srila Prabhupada, even in the last days, but towards the last breath, he was quite conscious. He was dictating the purport of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it is said that Srila Prabhupada's body was so shriveled, only the skin was sticking to the bones. In doctors say in that situation, the life is so painful. The situation is so painful. No one can bear the pain. But even in spite of that, Srila Prabhupada was dictating towards the last breath. What does he show? He was on a different way. He was not in body platform. He was, because he has completely Krishna conscious, Acharya, he could show by his example that somebody who dedicates his life to the service of the Lord, or follows on his guru, then the Kalkanya cannot attack them. We can see even in recent examples, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami, physically, he seemed to be in a very difficult situation. But in spite of that, he is preaching all the world. Just imagine at that age with so many ailments, so many physical difficulties, he is still preaching. I mean, isn't that amazing? That what does it show? Materially, it seems that Kalakanya has attacked him, but no, spiritually, he is very, very strong. He's past this bodily concept of life. He's able to come to the point of preaching in very difficult times. And today we learn His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj departed for the spiritual world. In spite of that, his advanced age, he was a remarkable spiritual person. Few times I went to Delhi, Parsasai Temple. I could see, even in spite of his such a advanced age, he was coming to Mangala Arati. He was doing Arati to Sri Radha Parasarthi. I was thinking, at this age, in this condition, he is so dedicated, so exemplary. So these acharyas, previous acharyas in the modern acharyas, are teaching us how not to be attacked by Kalkanya. The Kalkanya is very, very dangerous. All these debilities of old age can be very wrecking and unsettling. But somebody is very dedicated to serving the Lord, it does not matter to them. You can overcome this attack by Kalkanya. So what is the purpose of Yavana king accepting Kalkanya? First thing, he was obedient to the instruction of Narad Muni. Narad Muni asked Kalkanya to approach Yavana king. Yavana king, although his non-Vedic background, he used Kalkanya to serve the Lord. So what we can see from this verse is that in spite of something not being very auspicious, like Kalkanya invalidity, it can still be used in the service of the Lord. Why the Lord is using this Kalkanya as a service? Because he wants to wake up the living entity from the stupor of sensual enjoyment. He's saying, look, one day will come when all these inabilities will overtake you and you will not be in a good situation. So please take care now. Wake up now. Take it with special life. Otherwise, when the end comes, it's going to be very, very difficult situation. So Kalkanya, this purpose is mentioned that the Yavana king understood the confidence, the confidential purpose of the Lord to be used as an instrument to spread Kalkanya in all living entities who are not taking the spiritual path. It's only by this fear. Some people just learn by fear. When the death approaches and this invalid sad scene, people might think what's happened, why a person in that state, how did it all come about at this point in life? And if they reflect and they really inquire nicely, they'll come to the point, this is my own doing. It's not something that has been imposed on me unfairly. And when it comes to that point of realization, they'll take the spiritual path. The whole purpose of this chapter seems to me that Nada Muni was stressed to us in general, and particularly to King Parishant, who was so much encircled in sensual activity, to get out of this situation by engaging in devotional service. This is only path. So indirectly speaking, so the current situation in the Western world, especially also India, is following the similar footsteps. This Vedic knowledge is being ignored or being bypassed or being minimized in favor of material advancement. And what is happening? So much crime is increasing. So many inevitabilities are increasing. So many unimaginable sinful activities are increasing. And because of that, although the material advancement is happening, the people are not happy. We can see the current situation, the war between Israel and the Hamas. So much destruction, so much misery. Similar thing is happening also in Ukraine, because the people are not following the Vedic injunction. So if this injunction are given, if one doesn't follow, the result is not going to be very sane, not going to be very beneficial. So Narad Muni, being very, very compassionate, he is preaching very, very strongly, but in an indirect way, and giving example for King Puranjan to avoid coming to the stage of invalidity, to be conquered by Kalkanya, and then followed by so many disabilities that one will not be able to think of Krishna at the time of death. So this is the main point of this verse. The Yamana king is being instrument in the hand of the Lord to spread Kalkanya and the ability to get the people out from the samba of material life and come to the point of spiritual platform. So what are the main points of this verse? Let's summarize. The main point is that we are all servants of the Lord, and as a servant of the Lord, we can be instrument in his hand to do whatever service he wants. Even inauspicious, even like Kalkanya, invalidity can be used in the service of the Lord to wake up sleeping soul, to bring them to the platform of devotion service. Then in the beginning, the purpose of Prabhupada emphasized this point that Krishna is supreme, all are Bhritya, all are his servant. Very important point. The word Bhritya or servant is not very palatable in the Western concept or Western parlance, because it signifies exploitation, if somebody is a das, a servant, because in the material life, people experience being exploited at work side or the other side, and the word servant or das is looked at very, very unfavorably. But in the spiritual platform, das means to serve the Lord and have a reciprocal relationship with the Lord. We serve the Lord and the Lord serves us. So it's very joyous relationship. It's not exploitative relationship as in the material world. So Prabhupada, when he stressed right from the beginning of this purport, that we are all servants of the Lord, and Krishna is the only supreme, and we are servant. Somebody who is not well versed with the Vedic philosophy might think, "Oh, this is not very good. I don't want to be a servant. I want to be the boss. I want to be." So, but Prabhupada is emphasizing the spiritual platform. Relation of Das and the Lord is different from the material platform. It's a very important point. In the previous, we saw that the king was eventually trying to attain higher planet system, heavenly planet, to enjoy the presence of the heavenly planet by performing animal killing, sacrifice involving animal killing, which is not a very good idea, because whatever somebody goes up has to come down, except for the spiritual world. So Narad Muni explained to them to come to the platform devotion service. The other point is that Narad Muni is very, very compassionate, extremely compassionate. Otherwise, he will not spend so much time to elaborate on this point. He's giving what will happen to a person if he or she doesn't follow the Vedic science. And of course, the followers of Naradji are also very, very compassionate. I was reading a few days back how compassionate Srila Prabhupada is. When Prabhupada was very, very bedridden in Mumbai, one Ayurvedic doctor from Bangalore, very well known, he flew all the way from Bangalore to see Srila Prabhupada, and he went to his private darshan. He wanted to tell Srila Prabhupada something. So in those days, like 1970s, to just fly was very, very expensive. But because this astrologer and also the Ayurvedic doctor has come all the way, Prabhupada gave him private audience. But in its conversation, the astrologer and Ayurvedic doctor was telling Srila Prabhupada, you have your deities, while you are still living, you have deities, and all these people are coming, paying, obviously touching your feet. And according to Shastra, because they are touching your feet, you are incurring, you are taking their sinful activity. He said, please stop this, because while living, you should not do this. It is very, very dangerous for a person in that situation. And Prabhupada looked at him and as if he didn't know about it, but Prabhupada already knew this. What is the situation if somebody worship Archavigra of the Acharya while he was still present? Prabhupada looked at him and Prabhupada said, yes, I know already, and this is why I'm doing it. I want to get the sinful reaction and free them and give them the holy name. Just imagine Acharya who is willing to suffer for the living entity's sinful activity and bring them to the platform of devotional service. I mean, so much mercy, so much magnanimity. We can't even imagine how merciful Srila Prabhupada is. Srila Prabhupada said, even after I leave, when anybody who worships me or touches my body will be freed from sinful activity. And Prabhupada said, I'm willing to absorb their sinful activity. So much magnanimity, so much mercifulness. Just like Naradji. Naradji was willing to take the curse of Kalakanya, and then he was willing to engage her in the service of the Lord. We have also similarly, previous time we discussed previous acharyas like Ramanacharya. He also exemplified this extreme mercy of the Vaishnavas. It's mentioned in the pastime of Ramanacharya that he went to one of his several gurus to learn a specific mantra. And this guru was not willing to give him this mantra because it was very, very confidential. So Ramacharya was very, very pure devotee, but he approached this guru several times, but the guru will not give this confidential mantra to him. So eventually, because Ramacharya's consistent approach and his purity, this Acharya, the guru, agreed to give him this mantra. And he said, "Look, I'm giving this mantra. It's very, very confidential, and I'm only giving it to you on the condition that you will not tell anybody else. It's very confidential." So Ramacharya agreed, and then the guru gave this mantra in Ramacharya's ear, and Ramacharya became ecstatic. He started jumping and dancing, rolling the ground. And he said, "Oh, this is such a powerful mantra." And he left his guru with his blessing. He was going away to his own village. On the way, he saw a big temple. And he went to the balcony and called all the people. He said, "Come, I'll give you the most amazing mantra. You'll free you from all these difficulties." And he went to the balcony and shouted, "Om Namo Narayana." Everybody chanted, and there was seen like a Vaikuntha. Everyone's chanting, dancing, rolling the ground. So there was so much ecstasy. He was very, very happy that people are getting this ecstasy by the mercy of this mantra. When his guru learned that Ramacharya has done this, he broken his agreement not to tell this, he was very unhappy. And so Ramacharya went to meet him again. And then the guru asked him, "Oh, Ramacharya, why did you do that? I specifically told you not to tell this mantra to anybody, in spite of my telling you, you broke this agreement." And he said, what is the consequence of not listening to your guru? Ramacharya, Guru Maharaj, I know what has happened, and I know the consequence. So what are the consequences? He said, somebody who breaks the agreement of his guru, or instruction of the guru, goes in the cycle of birth and death for millions and millions of lifetime. The guru was saying, "Okay, you knew this, so why did you do it?" He said, Ramesh said, "Look, by my one insignificant soul, if I go in the material cycle of birth for millions and millions of years, but all this, so many other living entities get liberated, I think this is a small price to pay. I'm willing to do this, and all these living entities can become liberated by this mantra." And the guru was just amazed by the magnanimity of Ramacharya. He said, "Oh, Ramacharya, I'm your disciple, you are my guru." So he excused him, pardoned him. And this is the magnanimity of the acharyas, the mercifulness of Srila Prabhupada, previous Acharya, Ramanacharya, Madhvacharya, and also, of course, not to forget Narad Muni, all of Gurujans. So this is what we have to learn. From this verse of this chapter is very, very powerful. It's instructing us how to get people out of sensuality and bring them to the platform of devotional service, by some or other, by indirect means or direct means. And by narrating this, the allegory of Puranjan, Prabhupada, and of course, Srila Vyasadeva is telling us, public, and also the non-devotees and devotees alike, that sensual enjoyment entangles the soul, and it comes to the invalidity retreat, become conquered by Kala Kanya, and the result is that we forget the Lord at the time of death. Antikala Samaram. If somebody doesn't remember the Lord at the time of death, then his life is not successful. The human life is very, very powerful, very, very rare, and very, very useful for going back to Godhead. So if somebody attacked by Kalkanya is not following, then the purpose of life will be lost. So this powerful preaching by Narad Muni, giving example of King Puranjan, is very instructive for all of us and all the devotees and non-devotees alike. Because of their mercifulness, they are giving this narration in such a detail. So we can come to the platform of devotional service. So this is a very nice lesson to learn. Kali Kanya is taking everybody except the devotees who are in the spiritual platform. If somebody doesn't follow the instruction, the result will be very disastrous. We'll lose the opportunity to go back to Godhead using this human form of life. So I'll stop here. So many nice lessons to learn. So anybody got any comments or clarification can help? Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you for listening. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. What a beautiful lecture on the text 27. Yeah, encircling the most 4 points mentioned here, and you explained so nicely to make it easy to understand for how this allegorical example by Naradev to King Puranjana, which none other than King Prachin Varishan, the role of Kalakanya with Yavanraj and Narad Muni. So the 4 points, as you mentioned, is that they all are the servants of the Lord. They are playing the roles as a servant to the Lord, as a service. So here we can see the importance of the service is most important, not to be a Lord. And we understand that Krishna is the only Lord. All others are servant. No matter what kind of duty you perform, it is all the servitude towards the Lord. Then the compassionate nature of Narad Muni, along with the example of Srila Prabhupada, Ramanujacharya, how compassionate they are. We need to be very, very compassionate towards the other living entities, not to become selfish nature, to make ourselves only realized soul and go back to Godhead. That is not the real nature of the devotee. Devotee should be compassionate, and the example is our Srila Prabhupada and Ramanujacharya. And we can see how Narad Muni, being so compassionate, even though he was charged by Kalakanya, he was cursed, even though he didn't leave his duty of his compassionate nature. And we can see other things, how Kalakanya and Yavanraj is telling the people that the time is ripe. You need to move on. You have enough time to enjoy this material world. Now it is time to prepare yourself for the spiritual activity. So that's the turning point, as you mentioned in your examples, as you visited the several homes and you saw how people are suffering. So to come to that point, we need to be alerted that before we come to the situation, we need to make our life easy way to spiritual advancement, so that we don't follow that same path of the old age, which is natural to become to everyone's life. But to avoid that, the solution is to divert our attention towards spiritual advancement rather than the material enjoyment. So with that, I complete with my some comments and some realization. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the nice summary. Thank you for the 4 points mentioned. Thank you. Anybody else like to give any comment or realization?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much for the very nice lecture and particularly bringing out the essence of this verse. And one important point you have pointed out, and I want to just mention on that people in this material world who are too much attached to sense enjoyment, they took their face away from the death and other old age, these sort of things, which are inevitable, but they don't like to look at that. As in Mahabharata, there is a great example that when Yudhishthira Maharaj was talking to Yamraj, that ahani ahani bhutani gachanti jamalayam shesha sthavaram icchanti imaschijyamathaparam. It means every day people are dying. Every moment we see people are dying around, but the person, no one is thinking that he will die and he doesn't plan for himself. That is the greatest astonishment of this material world. And that is what the task of a person like Narad Muni, who wants to instill on our mind, or the common person, that the way they are not trying to look at the things, they have to look into it. Otherwise, they cannot escape that result. Just by keeping our activities away from that does not absolve us from that consequence. In other words, we have to face all this. So why not better do it while we have the right time, right body? So this is the preacher, and Prabhupada was very much concerned about these people, and that's why at his very old age he went there, because he was concerned that most of the people will not get a human life even the way they are moving. And those who are lucky may get a human life, but the purpose of life is something beyond that material life. The animal life. And any human being has to work hard to reach that goal. And the preachers are always trying to do that. And compassionate person like Narad Muni, like Prabhupada, and even our spiritual masters are tirelessly working to bring that point that we should reach what is the goal of our life and how we should achieve it. And you were talking about Gopal. Every preacher of our ISKCON movement is trying to do that so compassionately for all living beings. And we should also, in our personal life, not only we should, those who are in devotional service, it is also an important duty for us to preach to others that this message goes there, for which Prabhupada has given so much time and endeavor. And if we make him his movement successful, we have to actively participate on that as a preacher. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for some nice comments and just more elaboration on this verse. Anybody else? Just like to add one more point. Prabhu was mentioning about the government. The government is trying to give some frivolous activities to hide the main problem, birth, old age, and death and disease. Even that is not very discussed. It's like a no point of discussion. So it's old age, people get put in the old home and more or less, except even their relatives forget. And when they are there, they're trying to divert them to not to think about the issues they're having. They give some frivolous activity, playing cards, some music, some dancing. I mean, this is not going to help them, you know. It is just getting them to forget their main point, main issues. So trying to hide this is like this social activity of the government, because they don't have a clear idea what is the purpose of life. They're just trying to hide. Even in the material world, even saving in Israel, you say rugby, beer, women, these are the main prime entertainment, because they're not focusing on the aim of life. One of the things when I came to study here is say, oh, rugby is number one, beer, women, and other games. Oh, racing. Because the Kiwis are so much engrossed in this thing. And the government is encouraging them because they get money from racing, they get gambling, you know, and encouraging all this because they don't have any clue of the aim of life. And then the people, they're putting their people's future in great danger. So it's a very wrong, very wrong direction because they don't have this knowledge. And so Prabhupada's aim is to create a Brahmin community who can guide the society. Because if there's no head, the body will become useless. So yeah, very important point. Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else before we close?
Just Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can I add something onto that?
Yeah, yes, Prabhu.
The thing is, nowadays, in every section, we can see this phenomena. Even in our company also, we can see the management is looking after the breakdown maintenance. There is no prevention maintenance. Meaning so, we are not preparing ourselves for the next life. What we are doing, we are just trying to managing to come up to the problem, that is breakdown maintenance. So what example you are giving? We are giving the feeding to the breakdown maintenance, but we are not curing them. So that the prevention is just like prevention is better than cure. So we are curing by breakdown maintenance, but we are not preventing to happen this. So this is what actually going on. Even in this New Zealand, you can see so many problems. Every time we see the road congestion and all this, this is all done by the breakdown maintenance. Whenever there is a problem, they come forward and sort out the problem. But the basic thing, it is not prevented. So unless we do this, so it is not going to give us any solution. Similarly, in our life, if we don't prepare ourselves for the next life, we are going to be like this, as King Puranjana is suffering from. Chandravega is always ready through Kalkanya, and it will abolish us very quickly. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for a nice example. Preventive maintenance against background maintenance. Okay, so I think we have passed it for few minutes over time. So we'll close here. Thank you very much for joining this morning. Vancha kalpataruvesya.
Astu kripa sindhu bhave vacha patitanam pavanebho vaishnavebho namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, His Grace Nanda Vraj Prabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol, all glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. Thank you Prabhu for your nice class.